In the New York Magazine article, The Man Who Gossiped Too Much by Lila Shapiro, she continues to discuss Enty's sleight of hand that he does with the blinds that he puts out there, where he would write a blind and the reader would say, I think I've heard this one before. Take one typical post from 2006 in which Enty described an encounter with an A-list forever movie star in his 60s who spent a week in Enty's office preparing for litigation. Over the course of the week, Enty claimed to have witnessed excessive drinking, cheating, a party with other aging stars in various stages forms of undress, and very young women, and a middle-of-the-night emergency phone calls summoning Enty to get more liquor, and whatever else the situation required. 8 years later, Enty reposted the item and wrote that that misbehaving star was none other than Sean Connery. Connery had a long reputation for heavy drinking and womanizing, so it would not be inconceivable that he could have behaved that way. But what made the story compelling was that it was presented as a first-hand account, and the aspect was certainly fiction. When the anecdote was supposedly taking place a couple years before Nelson had written it, Nelson was still in law school, and according to public records, he had not even lived in LA. When I brought this up with Nelson, he admitted he had never worked for Connery. He said he had gotten the anecdote secondhand from a law school friend who worked as a gopher at an LA firm. When I asked him to connect me with that friend, he declined. Obviously, as a lawyer, I am very big on the truth, Nelson told me. He said he never outright made up any items, but sometimes published tips from readers that he had no way to verify. The less I believe it, the more obscure and generalized I will make it. But I don't just randomly make up stuff. He might fudge an anecdote now and then, but the truth mattered. The heart of whatever you're saying needs to be true. Enty didn't always pretend to have witnessed the action with his own eyes. Often he would publish a tip without any framing. Nelson told me some of his best tips came from paparazzi and reporters. That may be true. In 2013, he wrote that a superstar had fired an employee after discovering a video of him to pictures of her and her daughter. When the star learned that a magazine had planned to go public with this story, she agreed to pose for the cover in exchange for the piece getting killed. In the next couple of months, when you see a covered go WTF, now you know, Enty. A few months later, Beyonce showed up on the cover of Shape, a now defunct fitness magazine. He reposted the blind with Beyonce's name attached and published it again 8 months later, when the fired employee, Beyonce's bodyguard, died in a bizarre break-in in Miami. While the story was never confirmed, major publications reported the allegations and credited Crazy Days and Nights. Nelson said that he had gotten the tip from a writer who was frustrated that the magazine had traded away his big scoop. 5 years in 2011, Nelson began to look in a way to profit the site.